The time is here. The anime adaptation curse has been lifted. Or has it?
Hello and welcome to Breaking Geek Radio, the podcast, the premier flagship and international podcast of LRM Online. I'm your host, Brandon Jones. I'm thoroughly confused by that question. I don't know, whatever. I'm here with some folks.
Why is that confusing?
I think maybe I'm just sleepy.
I think so.
I think I'm just sleepy. Or I don't like children. One or the other. We'll figure it out. I'm here with some folks. Folks, would you all like to introduce yourselves?
I am a jammer living day by day.
I'm Laurice Jones. I'm here.
Kirsten Michelle.
I'm going to start introducing all of you again. Sorry.
I don't know why you give it lay that obligation onto us. There's too many of us for us to effectively do that.
I literally just said that I was sleepy. I was tired, and I was hoping that you all, like adults, could just introduce yourselves, and I could take one more thing off my brain space.
As if any of us are not sleepy. Excuse me.
Yeah, sir.
I've already been up for like 14 hours.
I've been up since
We're intentionally
5.
being
I'm
like the children that you hate in novels.
Okay,
and movies.
Kyle, you're the only one among us who started. This is a reasonable hour for a normal human. Everyone else on either side should be, at this time we'd be up anyway. But 30 minutes ago or 40 minutes ago, we should have been in bed.
I should be in bed. But instead, I'm going to talk about One Piece with these guys. So last week, on the previous episode, we had a conversation about One Piece and the first episode, the premiere. We had so much fun talking about it. We thought we would come back and have a conversation about the rest to see if I think everybody was pretty impressed with the first episode. Mostly, sort of.
And if you haven't seen it, you should definitely check it out on the Genreverse Podcast Network channel. We have a two-parter. We were literally reacting to the entire first episode of One Piece. So you could see our in-the-moment reactions and kind of see where we landed at the end of it versus how we are now after watching all 8 episodes.
Yeah, we've got 2 episodes discussing 1 episode of One Piece. How's that math work out for you?
It's a 2-piece for One Piece.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, that's right. Cute. I like that.
Thanks.
Just picking up what I'm putting down.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. You guys ready to get on with it?
Let's do it. So
all
One Piece.
Usually we do spoilers and non-spoilers, but we're going to just jump right into it. So I was just going to give a friendly spoiler warning before kicking it over to our subject matter expert, the One Piece Dr. Jammer himself. Is that offensive, Kirsten? If I call him a doctor, I shouldn't do that.
You shouldn't do that. You give doctors a bad. She's a doctor. I'm not.
Know.
So
I shouldn't. I'm sorry. We were an actual doctor on the show. I shouldn't do that. I don't know what to call it.
Call me Jammer. It's fine.
You know what to call you without the doctor.
You threw me off with that whole thing. I had a whole thing lined up and ready to go. So One Piece.
Go ahead, shoot.
Oh, I don't remember. That's the problem, Jonesy. I know I can do it, but I forgot it because he distracted me with that Dr. Jammer thing. Anyway,
okay, I got it. Old man Jammer. That's what I'm gonna call you now.
Take it down.
Okay.
It's too
One Piece has had 48 official critic reviews on Rotten Tomatoes, and
you're not gonna read them all, are you?
No. Where does this come from?
It's a thing you do.
We're currently sitting at 85%, and audience score of 96%. The critic consensus says One Piece captures the essence of its beloved source material with a charmingly big-hearted adaptation that should entertain longtime fans as well as patient newcomers.
Ooh,
I think
qualified that.
Patient.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know really what that's all about. That was a weird comment. I'm not sure.
I feel that.
Oh,
really?
Okay.
As a newcomer, I felt that. Yeah.
Well, it's funny because actually I was talking to Kirsten about this as I was kind of like looking back at our episode that we did. It's like we had a One Piece expert, me. You had a One Piece hater, Kirsten. You had a One Piece newbie in Jonesy and a One Piece virgin in Laurice. So it's like we had like all across the spectrum. The different types of viewers. So that extends to this episode right now. So it's interesting to get all of our perspectives based on that because Kirsten actively hates One Piece, the anime.
To be clear, like the anime.
I can't get her to read the manga. She is physically incapable of reading the comic because she cannot read comics. which
Why?
is it's a story for another day. It's her, the way her brain works. She can't process text and then take an image in and then go
My
back.
It's called
eyes just-
dyslexia.
Connect them.
She's dyslexic.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
she's dyslexic. I don't know if it's actually dyslexia, but it's something where she's unable to do. And I think One Piece, especially as you get farther into it, the manga, that is chaotic.
Yeah, he showed me
Chaotic.
pictures of it, and I'm just like, I literally, my brain is looking at so many things at the same time that doesn't even know how to process it. And he's like, oh, you just read from here to here. And I'm like, yes, but my brain can't do
Oh, yeah,
So-
I forgot. That's the other thing. It reads backwards.
That too. So like, just as an example of the types of stuff that are reading, like this is kind of what you can expect them to look like. It may not seem like much, but it's kind of chaotic. Or it can be chaotic.
I get that. Yeah, it looks kind of chaotic. There's a lot going on there.
Yeah. Okay. So we've watched 8 episodes. So I want to go around the room and first get initial impressions. Again, we're not doing spoiler free. Who should we start with? Let's first start with the person who has the least exposure, Larice. I want to hear your
Yes.
thoughts, because especially you really took to that patient comment, which is interesting. So what were your thoughts on the first 8 episodes, or the only 8 episodes of the One Piece live action series on Netflix?
It definitely took some getting used to all of the different characters, and I think they did a good job of introducing us to everyone, so that was helpful. But some of the episodes were definitely like very, very slow. They dragged things out quite a bit. So there was, for me, a lot of patience involved in like, okay, let's get to the point. Let's get to the action. Let's get to all the reveals of everyone and their connection to the other person that's in here and all of that.
Please, someone make her watch the anime. She thinks this was dragged out.
No, thank you. No, thank you. This was a lot for me.
So wait, so what were specific things you're like, okay, let's get to the point? Like, can you point out a specific instance where you're like, okay, come on.
I mean, I feel like even the connection between Luffy and Garp was just dragged out for such a long time. I'm like, who is he to this child? And I think I even said to Brandon at one point, I was like, I think I said something kind of ignorant, like that's his mother's father, right? That's his
It's
like
his mother's
his
father.
his grandfather on his mother's side, right? Like that,
which makes sense, right? Because even our son was like, wait, how is that his grandfather?
Yes. Yeah. It was really, really confusing. Yeah.
But so even so it wasn't as you were watching the early episodes, but as you were watching the early episodes, you weren't just thinking, oh, this is just a Marine who's looking for a new pirate. You're just like, there's something else. And why isn't it getting here sooner?
No, I think when they started hinting at it, is when I was like, okay, just go ahead and get to the point. Okay, tell us who it is, tell us what's going on. And then the episode with who's your little friend with the blonde hair? That's the cook,
Kaya?
the chef.
Oh,
Sanji.
Sanji, yeah, Sanji and the peg leg guy.
Zeph.
I was like, just what happened? How did they meet each other? Why is all this animosity between the two of them? What's going on?
Just have sex and get
and
over
when they
it.
finally
So you want an instant resolution on like, this is where they come
Yeah.
from.
It dragged out a little bit too long. And the scene on the rock, when you finally do get a chance to see how they met each other in the first place, it was like, what, 70 days or something like that on this rock together. And I'm like, really? You couldn't could have skipped ahead a little bit faster, right? Go from like day 30 to like day 70 instead of like 40, 45, 65. It's like, okay, I got it. They were there for a really long time, and then he ate his leg. Got it.
You just want the cliff notes. That's basically what I'm hearing. You want the cliff
Yes.
notes. The second something
tell my
pops up, it's like,
students.
wait a second, what about this? Answer it immediately. At that point, when you
Yes.
think, oh, give me the answers immediately. Okay.
Quick flashback. Let me know what happened. And yes,
I can see
move
some
on.
of that. I do think there's a few times during the episodes where, and I knew what happened in the most part because I've watched these anime episodes. But like, yeah, it did feel a little slow at times.
So Kirsten, based on your exposure to the series, how did the One Piece live action? Well, actually, sorry, apologies, Larice. What would you rate this on a letter grade?
I would probably give it like a B-. I do think that actual fans of the anime or the manga are probably really going to enjoy it. But for a newbie, there was just such a big learning curve that I don't know that I would have voluntarily watched the entire 8 episodes.
So what is it? What was the learning curve exactly? What was like the part where it was
to be
hard
clear,
to
I didn't force her to watch it.
She didn't. He didn't force me to watch it. No, there was no forcing me to watch it. It was like, do you want to watch this for the podcast? Would you like to watch it? Are you okay with this? I'm like, yeah, that's fine. It's fine. But yeah, I just learning all the characters. I mean, they did a good job of teaching us who everyone was and getting us set up, I suppose, for a season 2. But like I said, it was just really slow. It was really
Kirsten,
slow.
Why was this better than the anime? And what letter grade would you give it?
So yes, I have seen a lot of the anime. Jammer has insisted on watching it over and over again because I will eventually understand.
Not over and over again. Not over and over again.
You keep trying to, yeah.
Different arcs.
How many episodes do you think you've watched? Oh,
so many. Way more episodes than he ever watched of Doctor Who and Firefly.
I don't know. Well, Firefly only has 13 episodes. I've watched all of them. Get over yourself. Doctor Who, I've watched 3 or 4 seasons.
I think like 4 seasons.
Which Doctor, so that matters.
I've watched
Chris
up through season 1
Matt.
of Matt Smith.
Wait, so you didn't even finish the Soldier Who Waited and all of that good stuff?
I don't know.
Wow, that's good. So like the angels, the weeping angels?
He got to the angels.
It was fine. I got way past
He got to the original angels.
No, yeah. I mean like
no, he did not get to those.
Oh, that's really good.
Yeah, he literally was like,
we'll just wait another season or 2 before it gets good. Are you about to
No,
tell me
you
that,
said
Jonesy?
that you like it.
No, I do.
I
I
think-
do.
So no, I think that the strength of that, especially that Doctor, is his relationship with Amy and Rory, and getting to see like what happens at the end. And then there's this deleted scene from the end of the season that's there's an animatic, like there's a drawing of it. I'm like, why would you delete that? I'll send it to you.
Okay, let's take it back to One
But
Piece.
it's like, oh my God, why would you delete this? It was amazing.
Okay. But yes, you should keep watching Doctor Who since I keep watching One Piece. No, I really struggle with the anime because I do think it's dragged out. It has the same issues I have with a lot of anime, which is they are just over explaining. People do something and then they say out loud that they just did the thing, and it's like, oh my God, I didn't need to hear that. I really liked this. I thought the characters were better developed. I think it did a better job of like making me care about the characters. I think it was faster paced, which I think says something. But yeah, I think it was faster paced in terms of just things actually happening in one episode versus like it taking 6 episodes to have a fight scene. So I really liked this, and I do not like the anime. Like I don't care about the characters in the anime. I don't like a lot of the characters. Like I'm gonna get these names wrong. Usopp, I hate Usopp in the anime. Hate him.
Terrible.
I don't like Sanji very much. Sanji's so over the top. It's annoying. I want to punch him. And I feel like they were able to take the characters and actually like make them likable while not changing their personalities.
Yeah. I thought they did a really good job with Sanji in this series. Like he acts a specific way in Water 7 arc, and I feel like they leaned harder into that. Someone who's really sort of empathic and warm and smart. They leaned into that, I feel like, in this adaptation of him, and I think that was a smart move. Anyways, Jonesy, as somebody who has read a significant chunk,
I didn't rate it yet.
Oh, sorry, Kirsten, rate it.
You're bad at this.
I'm bad at this.
I would give it a B+.
Oh, nice. Jonesy, as somebody who has read a significant chunk of the anime or the manga, which it surpasses the East Blue, how would you
I've
rate?
read like a 10th. I've read a 10th.
That's a significant chunk.
Considering how many there are.
I really enjoyed the characters. I thought that they did such a good job of capturing what I thought was the spirit of these characters. And I agree with Kirsten, like they shaved off enough of Usopp's irritating personality. Because remember when we had a conversation about this, I was like, I hate his character. And part of it was because like the cowardly black guy is like a trope. And so like them shaving off like just any portion of that made it less annoying. So that was a lot of fun. The story for me did drag. The pacing felt sluggish in some parts. And it's not because I necessarily needed an answer to things all the time. It just, I wish I could put my finger on what it was exactly that felt.
It was episodes 3 and 4 with Kuro.
Ones that he said felt like Doctor Who.
Yeah, the ones that felt like they're the ones where they're in the mansion.
Yeah,
those 2 episodes.
That was exactly. Exactly it.
When I was watching it, I was just like, "Oh my god!" It's awkward because I don't think they could have fit that all into an episode, but I think they could have done it in an episode and a half, and maybe even an episode and change. So they're at that place where it's just like, I don't know how you fill that time because they changed that dramatically from the manga. If you recall, the manga itself has this pirate battle on the beach, essentially, as opposed to
like the rest of the crew shows up, right?
The rest of the crew shows up. You have this other guy who is a hypnotist who, you know, way back when was the one who hypnotized Captain Morgan into thinking he captured Captain Kuro, and like a bunch of other aspects to it that were just kind of cut, which makes sense. But I almost feel like they were at a place where they didn't have enough content to fill that time, but they needed to fill that time.
Yeah.
That would have been an interesting nugget, that he was hypnotized to believe that he had killed Kuro.
But I think it's believable.
There was
in what
no
they set
real
up. Because the way they set it up is Captain Morgan is full of himself. And I think another touch that works when you watch it on repeat, but not in this one, was when they open that safe in his office. There's the wanted poster for Captain Kuro, because you can imagine him being like, "Oh, this is my prized possession. Is that one pirate that I captured and killed years ago?"
Yeah. So yeah, I had a lot of fun watching the characters, and like I said, the story was sluggish. There were, as reading the parts that I did of the manga, it was fun where there were like little nods to stuff that they didn't expound on in the show that you got to see. So like one of them that I loved was when they were so in this mansion arc, when Zoro was walking down the street, he was like, "Oh, I thought I was walking towards the mansion," but he was actually walking away from it, which is a nod to the manga where he's having this discussion with Luffy, where Luffy is trying to understand. He's like, "Well, how did you end up doing this job?" And it's essentially that he got lost, right? And so he didn't know how to get back home. So it's a nod to the fact that he just has no sense of direction. And I kind of enjoyed that. So it's fun.
That's a running gag in the series. Like, he has a terrible sense of direction. Like, he gets lost, go on his way to the bathroom or other things. It's insane.
Yeah. So I enjoyed that stuff. I thought it was a lot of fun. If I had to give it a letter grade, I think the strength of the characters, I'm more of a B+ to a B. Like, the thing that had me coming back every time was just their connections and their relationships, and how much, even though Luffy is just like this very earnest character, how much even he struggles to deal with negative emotions, and watching him deal with that and like struggle through that added a very real layer to his character, which is incredibly over the top. But seeing him be the glue that bound these people together and someone that believed in their dreams was a lot of fun. I really, really enjoyed that part of the show. And so the end, where they flash back to being children, and so like, this was my dream, and this is like their cast off ritual. Like, I really enjoyed that scene, just like as a wrap up to everything from the season. And one thing that I don't think anybody mentioned, that I like, the thing with Garp, like, it wasn't necessarily their connection that bothered me. Like, shoehorning in that battle at the end, it felt kind of rushed and forced to me.
Mhm.
And so that is one thing that I would say is a negative to me. Like everything else was sluggish, but then you get to this and I'm like, wait, why is this even here? And so, yeah, that's where I'm at.
Yeah, that's fair. I think on my end, I'd give it an A-. I think it does a really admirable job of cutting down. You know, I could have easily been on the other side. I am shocked at how well I think this works. You know me. I wasn't positive when watching those trailers. It's no Cowboy Bebop. This is not the trailers did not really fill me with confidence. And I know somebody who was an advisor on this, and this whole time he's like, "Oh, it's great!" Like online, he's like talking about how great it is online. And I'm just like, "You're biased as f, man. I don't know, man. I don't know if I could trust what you have to say." But he was right. This was, I think, a solid adaptation. I think it has a lot of heart. I think it doesn't land 100% of the time, but I think it gets it right where it counts. And I think we can kind of feel that throughout the entire show. But I want to take this time to maybe dip a little bit more into like things that we liked most about it and maybe things that we liked least about it. So how's that for you, Kyle? Does that work? Favorite things? That's a cutting point for you to move on to the next thing. Because I wanted to specifically see if there's any parts that stood out to you as particular strong points that maybe you didn't expect about it after watching the first episode. Kirsten, I'm going to put you on the spot and start with you.
Give me time to think. Well, I actually liked the Kuro episodes, mostly because I think, and this is one of the things I was talking to him about when we were watching it, is like how much of my perception is based on how much I hated specific parts of the anime. Because those episodes, I hate Usopp, and maybe that was part of the reason I hate Usopp, but those episodes I did not care about. I barely remembered the episodes. I remember there being some sick blondie, and that was it. That's all I remember from those episodes. So I really liked the episodes in this one because I feel like I actually cared. And like the relationship between her and Usopp was really well developed, and like that the betrayal was better developed. So once again, it's just the characters. I think they did such a good job, but I feel like that those episodes specifically stood out to me because I cared so much about them in this version when I barely remembered those episodes in the anime. Yeah,
I think
so
I think also she likes campy things. So there was that part where the Meowbin siblings, or they're the Meowbin brothers in the manga, where they put on their outfits, and when that bigger guy put on his outfit, and I was just like, oh my god, he looks terrible. And Kirsten's like, this is so awesome. I love their outfits.
It was like, the thing is, like, it just recognizes that it is over the top. They're like, we have freaking cat pirates, and they were just like, we're gonna go for the cat pirates.
Yeah, there are a lot of parts with the cat, with Kuro, where he started like going like moving really fast when he's about to kill Mary, and I was like, oh no, this looks so bad. Oh my god, I lost faith in episodes 3 and 4, and I'm like, is this? The problem I had was like, is this going to be a series where we're like confined into close quarters for the entire show? And I just felt a little claustrophobic, especially after we had an episode of Buggy, which was completely in a tent, and then these 2 and 3, which were almost completely in a mansion. And I was just like, is this going to be the whole show? Luckily, I feel like it opened up a lot in Baratier and moving on, so I felt better. It still had some confined aspects, but I think it was better.
So I'm going to push back on that a little bit. One of the things I thought was very cool was at the very beginning of the show, they showed you and kind of promised you a scope and scale that I don't think they ever got back to. So at the execution scene in the beginning, there's a square, it's full of people. And then you pan out and you see this huge city, you see all these ships, and they're like logo One Piece. Are like, holy shit. Like, I remember that feeling of like, this is a big epic world. And to your point, after that, we're inside. Even all Arlong's Park, like it just felt like an abandoned park. Like it never felt big again after that.
Yeah, that's fair. I think I agree with that, but I think it was better after those mansion episodes.
Oh yeah, no.
It
The
opened up a
show
lot to the
itself
point where
got
it was like
better.
it was enough for me, where I was just like I didn't feel like I was claustrophobic anymore, like I had earlier than that. But yeah, we didn't quite return to that scope yet. Ironically, they cut out the last 2 episodes, which are now going to be in season 2, and they would have brought us back to that same city that we saw the execution on. So it could have gone full circle, but you know, I think the budget probably cost too much, so they're like, let's just cut 2 episodes. So you mentioned Luffy, Jonesy, and his change in character, and I think that's something I want to highlight. There are 2 things that this Luffy does that the anime and manga Luffy would never do. A, when Nami says, let's go back to Baratier, and he's like, I'm not feeling hungry right now, Nami. He would never say that, A.
Yeah.
B, it's also indicative of someone who has some like emotional read on the situation, which he would never have. And B, that part where I think Usopp says something, and then Luffy says, I don't know, I'm not really trusting my gut right now. And it's those lack of confidence moments that I think helped humanize him better than in the manga. Made him less one note and more somebody who's just like, you're right, he doesn't quite know how to handle these emotions just yet, and what to do or what decision to make. And it was subtle, and it wasn't like a complete change in character, but it was enough for me to notice. I'm sure plenty of manga fans noticed.
It made him feel human.
Yeah. Agreed.
And allows room for growth, which I really like.
Yeah. Anything else that anyone loved or hated about the show?
I think I hated this scene, and Jonesy and I kind of talked about it when it happened. The same scene that Kirsten really liked, we kind of hated, or that the whole
outfits?
situation with that. No, no. This, when they were in the mansion and Usopp was trying to convince Blondie that she needed to get out of there, and you know, he was trying to rescue her, and she's like, this is just another one of your stupid stories, and I've put up with this long enough, kind of attitude towards him. And he's like, where is this coming from? He looked very confused. I was kind of confused. I'm like, why is she turning on him right now? And clearly there's actual danger. And like, I get it, because he had been lying the whole time. And I think that was one of the episodes that I wanted the kids to actually watch, because we just had a conversation about the boy who cried wolf. Yes.
Yeah.
And they were like, what happened?
Like, I saw it as this almost like because she loved Kuro so much that she just couldn't wrap her head around someone betraying her like that.
I get it, but
and also he's known for lying.
She believed this. Yes, but he was also her friend, and of all the people that she was going to believe, it seemed like it should have been the person that she knew the longest versus the people that just showed up at her door and she knew nothing about and had no reason whatsoever to trust them.
So I would say this from her perspective, they're both her friend. And I think that the time that they came into her life also has an impact into why she would trust them, right? So they showed up in her life at the same time her parents died. Well, they killed her parents. So I think the fact that they were there to support her during that time is probably what impacted her relationship with them and the reason why she would believe them.
Like, he's a father figure to her.
Yeah. Kuro's story kind of bugged me a little bit too, because I'm like, he was a pirate and now he's just going to retire.
Yeah, I thought that made perfect sense.
Stay at home.
I thought it made sense. Like,
Jones is like, I would do it.
Well, it's not that I would do it, but I thought that they explained why, right? Because he said something to the effect of, I did this for all of this time and all it got me was a price on my head. So now he's going to trade that in for this lucrative shipyard business. It's like, yeah, I get that. He is not necessarily going straight, but he is the godfather. He is a gangster who's like, I'm tired of this life and I want to go legitimate. And so, yeah, he's got to kill one more person to do it, but that doesn't really. Yeah, he's got to kill one more person to be able to go straight. And
he's done.
And then he's done.
But
he's out of the game.
Yeah, but to contrast that with like Zeph, who essentially did the same thing, he went straight to and had a lucrative business and a successful, restaurant and stuff. I guess we don't know exactly how he got the restaurant, but he didn't kill anybody.
You don't know that.
That's what I said. I don't know that we don't know at this point, like what he had to do in order to get the restaurant in the first place. But he's done the same thing, and he's like not killing.
I think if anything,
child.
Well, and then the other part of that is, think about this. This guy has had to put on a mask, put on a disguise. Like, he's had to change his entire identity. So I read that as meaning, like, I don't recall what the price was on Kuro's head, but if it was higher than
15,000, I think.
Was it higher than the guy that owns Brady?
I don't know. I don't think we know what his old.
The only reason I say that is because
I don't think we ever saw that.
It might have some impact on the things that he did, right? He might have killed more people. He might have done more stuff. So he had to go into hiding. So like, it didn't bother me as much. Like, I understood, like, people go straight in different ways.
I want to talk about a couple more things that I want, and then we can move on. One, I really liked Mihawk in this one. I thought Mihawk was so cool. His introduction was great. Where he was taking out those pirates and, fighting as he was talking on the phone. I thought that was really cool. The voice was absolutely perfect. They captured his essence wonderfully. And also what they did for the arc, I thought was really cool, is they literally, the main villain of that arc at Baratier is the guy that Mihawk was killing on the phone. So that was like a nod to the fans, where it was just like, this guy, we didn't forget about him, but he's going to get killed right here instead of later on. And I thought
I was very
really
confused.
Cool. Yeah, right? It was just like, wait a second. I thought he was, what's going on?
It's like, clearly he's not going to die. Wait, what I loved about that was, like, this guy's clearly not about to die. And then they cut to Garp, and then you hear the guy gurgling and dying. I was like, oh, wow, he's actually dead. And like I said, the subtitle was like gurgling, like, oh. All right.
And you cut back and he's dead, and you see him dead, and you're like, okay, moving on with that. But I thought Mihawk was handled great. I also think one aspect of the show that captured the essence of One Piece perfectly was that one scene where we go back to the previous places and we see them reacting to Luffy's bounty for the first time, where it's just like, okay, this is kind of what it's all about. Like, we kind of see the progress that he's made. We get to check in at different places around the world and see where they are, because usually at the end of each arc, things change, and we kind of see, like, here's the current state of the world, and we have like several chapters about, like, here's what's happening with the warlords of the sea, here's what's happening with the world government, here's what's happening in relation to Luffy's bounty. And it's like really worried to see like the shift in the power system that they have set up as the story goes on. So that was like our first taste of that, and I think they handled that pretty well. I know Kirsten felt it compared to
I really liked that. Can I talk about something I hated that you just reminded me of, though?
And then we'll move on.
The Zoro fight with Mihawk, and like how they're like, he's bleeding everywhere. And I'm like, okay, I get that you're trying to keep this PG-13 or whatever, but don't keep showing the cut that's definitely not actively bleeding.
Not bleeding. Not bleeding at all.
I know. They had a couple of lines like that in the series where it was very clear that, oh, they'll fix it in post, and they never did. Like, he's bleeding everywhere. Like, as an actor, you assume, okay, they're going to add blood, so he's bleeding everywhere, and then they don't. And that was another part. I think I mentioned this in the reaction.
Said that? Who was the person that said that?
I think it was Usopp said that, or Nami said that. Usopp said
Nami,
it.
I think Nami says it at one point too, though.
I was going to say, if Usopp said it, then it's like, well, I think
then it's just
like
he's
losing too much blood. He's bleeding everywhere.
That's just Usopping.
Oh.
Yeah, but there was another part. Hey, Oliver, there was another part. And we mentioned, I think, in the first episode, where Zoro says, "As soon as I come down from here," and I'm like, "You're at the same level as each other. What do you mean come down from there?"
But he's like that in the manga as well.
Yeah, but come down from there. When I come down from here, as opposed to when I'm free,
would you not?
He wasn't at a higher elevation.
Would you not?
He wasn't being
he's
brought
sitting
down.
on the ground.
But would you not? But would you not refer to him as tied up?
Tied up.
That's the thing, is I assumed it was like, oh, he's hanging tied up, not so much like above them.
Higher.
There is a legit.
Kyle, if you're sitting in a chair like this,
let me get down from this chair.
Hold on, no, I'm not down from the chair. If you're sitting
off
in
of the chair,
if you're sitting
out of the chair,
Kyle,
no,
if you're sitting in this chair, you want me to yell and peek the mic? If you let me fucking talk, here we go. If you're sitting like here, and you're tied up and someone's at eye level, are you going to say, as soon as I get down from here, I'm going to
No.
kick your ass?
No,
yeah.
but if I'm
you would
tied
get up from this chair.
yeah, I can get up from the chair. Sure.
So you're
I mean,
tied
but
up, and
tied
you're
up.
going to get up
Yeah.
from the chair.
So what was the thing that you hated, Kirsten? I forgot. Did we talk about it? You mentioned it,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, the bleeding.
The whole blood
bleeding.
thing.
Okay.
The bleeding.
I was making sure
Yes.
that we tackled that. Any last
Non-existent
words
blood. Yes.
about One Piece before we move on? So, actually, Jonesy, you mentioned that you're like, are we even getting it? It sounds more and more like we potentially could be getting a second season, which we'll talk about in a bit. So I'm excited.
No, 100% we're getting a second season.
Well, I don't know about that. I don't trust.
100%.
Never
Netflix.
trust Netflix.
Never trust Netflix. But anything else
You
anyone
saw-
want to say?
you saw the
before we move
numbers,
on?
right?
I saw the numbers. Anyone else have anything to add, or are you ready to move on to the next story, which is going to be all about the potential second season of the One Piece?
Let's go.
Let's go. All right. Larice, question before I get
Yes.
into that. Would you watch a
Yes.
second episode of One Piece?
Second season?
Second season, sorry.
She's watched a lot
Second
of episodes.
I've watched all the current live action episodes. I've seen them all. Would I watch a second season? Yes, probably. It's not one of those shows that I think I would put like at the top of the list of things where I'm like, we have to watch this tonight. Like Foundation. I'm not going to tell you what happened, but someone might have watched another episode without me. Just going to leave it there. I get upset about things like that. This, if that same person decided to watch it without me, I don't know that I would be so upset about missing episodes of the second season of this.
Well, wait,
Okay.
Jammer, you watch Foundation?
No.
I was trying.
You didn't get it.
Anyway, so here's what happened is I was half listening because I was making sure I had articles ready for the actual news story, so I didn't hear whatever that was. So that's what happened there.
Thanks for asking the question and not listening for the answer.
That's par for the course. Kirsten has to deal with that on a regular basis. Do you ever ask a
That's
question
our relationship.
and then immediately regret asking? You're like, shit, why did I ask that? I don't care about the answer. Like that happens to me all the time, especially at networking events when I'm speaking to somebody and I ask them a question. I'm like, oh no, he's going in too deep on this. I have no idea what he's talking about. I really don't care. I regret my entire life right now.
I was
Happens
just trying
all
to
the time.
network.
So One Piece has a potential for a second season. We don't know yet in terms of whether or not this is going to be good enough for season 2, but it's gotten 140 million hours of views, which puts it a bit behind some of the big ones. I know, Jonesy, you had a particular thing that you sent us.
Yeah,
And I'm
so
not
it
sure I've
has
seen
it
a
broke the
corroborated-
viewership. So supposedly it broke the viewership record for Wednesday and Stranger Things.
I have not seen that anywhere else other than that post that you sent us. So I looked it up and I couldn't find anywhere on
Is that a
that.
challenge?
Yeah, it's a challenge. Go ahead and find it. But I think the next couple weeks are going to be telling. So if it's able to keep it up, then I think we'll definitely get a season 2. But if we do get a season 2, it sounds like things are ready to get going quickly as soon as the actor/writer strikes wrap up. So this is in an article from Variety. The producers behind the show say the scripts for season 2 are completed and that the next season could be quote unquote ready to air in essentially 12 to 18 months. We've got scripts ready. CEO of Tomorrow Studios, Marty Adelstein says, and he says, realistically, hopefully a year away if we move quickly, and that is a possibility. Somewhere between a year and 18 months, we could be ready for air. And this is Tomorrow Studios president Becky Clements who said that. So it could happen fairly quickly, assuming that these strikes, don't last a million years, which at this point, who knows? But Clements went on to say that, we haven't had a renewal yet. They said they keep it as, close to the vest until post-launch, but with Netflix's support of the title, we expected it to be a number one, and we sensed their research and algorithms probably saw the possibility for that. But in our subsequent calls post-launch, we have been told that we have exceeded expectations, which is also fantastic. And then Adelstein adds to it, I think Netflix is looking at various situations about how many episodes they do. Do they break them up? I think we're trying to figure that out this week. I suspect we'll hear from them next week to 2 weeks. There seems to be a big impetus to keep this going and to come up with a big long-term strategy. So if we're waiting for that. So it seems like there is a possibility to really maybe even go more than just beyond. I mean, beyond another season, maybe they're looking further and say, okay, how can we divide this up to make it long lasting, which I think is good. And I think Netflix should wisely consider this as Stranger Things is coming to an end next season. So they need another cash cow, and maybe this could be their cash cow. I don't know. I know, Jonesy, you're shaking your head. Why are you being so negative?
They don't have the stones for it. They just don't.
You don't think so?
No.
But you said, Jammer, you said that they already have 2 episodes, like 2 basically unaired episodes of
Not
One Piece
unaired
already,
episode.
or?
I think they did the scripts for them, and I don't think they shot them when they realized how much it was going to cost.
Okay.
Yeah, you know why? Because the scope and scale of that city was too big. So they kept us in a tent and in a mansion and in an abandoned amusement park. So I sent you all another article. It's from Yahoo, and it says that the data that you were referring, or that I was referring to, came from Flix Patrol. So they aggregate data on both VOD and streaming charts. The first season of One Piece has already rocketed to the top of Netflix's charts in 84 countries. And so they're saying that by comparison, Wednesday and Stranger Things only hit number 1 in 83 countries when they premiered.
Oh, those records. Gotcha. So not the actual viewer hours, but the number 1 countries.
Yeah. Yeah, just viewership record. Yeah.
Yeah, I think 140 million hours is what they got for One Piece, and I think Wednesday was like in the mid to high 200 hours or something. So it was significantly higher, and I'm hoping that it's just able to retain for the next couple of weeks. It's maybe you wish, like, come on, Netflix, stop it with dropping these things all at once. Just do it weekly. Just do it weekly.
Do you think that has anything to do with the cast at all, or do you think it's more of a marketing thing? The fact that it was so popular in so many different countries, because just kind of like scrolling through the cast to see what they've done before, it seems like they've done things in different countries, like in other languages and that kind of thing. Do you think that had anything to do with it?
Maybe
that's part of it. I also think that Wednesday had like viral moments that I have not seen anything like that for One Piece. So one of the things that's sustained.
There's no dance.
There's no dance.
It hasn't made it onto TikTok yet.
Right. And that's kind of a big deal. Like if you want to understand, like, okay, at some point, like, what is this? What is this? I know part of my reason for wanting, like, I knew I wanted to watch it before, but as I'm scrolling TikTok and I kept seeing the dance, I was like, fuck, I'll watch it now. Like, what is this? So
yeah, there's nothing really memeable, I feel like, in One Piece in this series. I'm like, there has to be something. There has to be something. Even the snails. Nothing about the snails. Come on.
The snails might make it. Snails might make it into a meme, but I don't know how.
That like ringing sound might end up making it.
Yeah.
All right.
That was pretty cute.
Kirsten, would you watch a season 2?
Yeah.
I don't. You look like you regret that. You're like, yeah.
Yeah. No, I
Jonesy.
would. I don't want to make you too excited.
Can I ask you a question? Can I ask you a question
Sure.
for a question?
Yes.
So I keep bringing up, at the beginning of this episode, you talked about the fact that this show has broken the curse of live action adaptations. I think it's just as important to talk about the fact. So this is at least Netflix's 3rd attempt. So they've had Death Note, Cowboy Bebop, and this.
Yes.
This one, notably, at least as far as I understand, is the only one of the 3 to have significant involvement from the original creator. And I'm curious, do you think that's
not
what
true?
made it different?
Isn't Shinichiro Watanabe, wasn't he included as an executive producer or something? No?
So they might have put his name on it, but he
Okay.
very specifically said, I made it to like the intro of the first episode, and I knew that this wasn't Cowboy Bebop. And so he didn't have anything else to do with it.
So there are
his statement is actually pretty harsh.
There are a couple of reasons why. I think yes, that for sure. I think that probably has something to do with it. Of those, this is the only one that I feel like is a faithful. It captures similar vibes as the manga. It's the only one of the three of them that captures vibes of the source material. So the source material from Death Note, I think they basically took the concept and did its own thing. The one for Cowboy Bebop, they took something that I feel like was grounded and they decided to make it super campy and like stylized, which made no sense to me. And this one kind of had a similar vibe, to be honest, as Cowboy Bebop, but it skewed closer to the source material. So yeah, I don't know. I think it does have something to do with it, because a lot of fans, usually, fans of the first one, they'd be like, this sucks. A lot of people loved it. So I think that helped.
So he said, Watanabe is credited as an associate producer and consultant. And so his quote is, for the new Netflix live action adaptation, they sent me a video to review and check. It started with a scene in a casino, which made it very tough for me to continue. I stopped there and only saw that opening scene. It was clearly not Cowboy Bebop, and I realized at that point that if I wasn't involved, it would not be Cowboy Bebop. So
I felt that maybe I should have done this, although the value of the original anime is somehow far higher now.
Yeah.
Rough.
Minced
All right.
0 words.
Yeah.
Jonesy, are you gonna watch season 2?
Yeah. I would like to see what happens to these Straw Hat Pirates.
All right. Great. Well, I think that wraps it up for this episode of Breaking Geek Radio, the podcast. Jonesy, go ahead and do your sign-offs, because I'm terrible at it. So do your thing.
You were starting to do it. You were just fine. If you like what you heard, do all the socials: like, rate, comment, subscribe, share, raise a Jolly Roger flag, something. Yeah. Also check out other content on LRM.online.com.
What? LRMonline.com? What the hell? It's been like several years. What's wrong with you? Did you have a stroke?
Yeah, maybe. And also the Genreverse on YouTube. Yeah. Other than that, we'll catch you on the next one. Hasta lasagna. What? Stop making that face.